Welcome back, artists. Today we are going to start painting the larger spaces in our drawing. You might want to go back to your plan and see where you have your colors and what you were thinking, and then find the colors that you have and see how that will work out. The thing I noticed is that this color is very similar to the paper color. So I could either leave this the paper color or paint these spaces, and I think I'm going to switch that. So the brown paint I have is much darker. So I'm going to use the darker brown here and leave this part the paper color so that I don't have to paint as much. The other thing I am debating on here is I think I might just do the top half of this frog be green, and then the bottom, like the belly part, would be red. So I'm just trying to think in my mind how I want this to go. So while you are painting, you're going to want to think about a couple of things. The first thing you want to think about is brush control. When you are painting with a brush, you hold it like a pencil. The closer you hold it to the bristles, the more control you have. If you hold it way back here, any small little movement moves the bristles a lot. So down here you have a little bit more control. I encourage you to hold it like a pencil. The other thing you want to work on is smooth edges. If I'm going to start with my frog here, I'm going to dip my brush. I'm going to put this on top. I don't recommend this because you could dipping my brush in the paint, and I'm just getting the paint on the tip. Notice how there's no paint on the middle part of the brush or the handle. So this is going to allow you to get closer and to control it. The other thing you're going to want to do when you start is be very careful on your edges. So I'm going to start on the edge here. You want to be able to see both the edge, you want to see the line that you are painting and your brush at the same time. And I'm going to set my bristles down. Notice they're not bending that much. And then I'm going to pull it along that line. So my fingers are not moving, my wrist is not moving. I am just moving my arm at my shoulder and my elbow. And by pulling this across, I can get a much smoother line. Now, once you get to the point where you have to push down a little bit more, otherwise the line is fuzzy like this, the brush is telling you something. It is telling you that you need to add more paint or reload the brush. So I'm going to go back to my paint. I'm going to dip it in, just get some on the tip, and then I can go back to painting. So I'm going to continue outlining this part of my frog. Oh, and so another thing you can do, see how it got a little fuzzy there? I can turn my brush over. So I was painting on this with this side of the bristles. Now if I roll it halfway, I can try again, and usually you can do a little bit more painting before you have to add paint. Now that I have the edge done, I could go a little bit quicker in this area, but I still need to be slow over here where I am outlining. So I'm just going to continue to outline this shape and my other shapes to complete painting the large shapes for my animal. I also have to outline this line because I want it to be a different color. Now that I have painted all the things I want green on my picture, it is time to clean up my brush. The most important thing to do is to make sure that you get all of the paint off before you start with your next color. And I did not use any water while I was painting. My paints are already liquid and we want them to be opaque. So the more water you add, the less likely they're going to block out the paper below it. So when you are cleaning out a brush, you want to make sure that you are tapping it on the bottom. I often see friends who just kind of swirl the brush in the water, but you notice how the green is still there. All right, what you want to do is gently tap it on the bottom. And as I do that, you can see how the green is coming off of the brush and going into the water. And you're going to do that a few times. Notice I'm not making any noise. I'm also not splashing anything. And then once I feel like the brush is clean, I can look at it. I don't see any green left. And then the last thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you dry your brush. So I'm going to take the paper towel and I'm going to just pinch the brush in there. Now I do see a little bit of green in there still, so I am going to wash this one more time. So I'll go down on the bottom again, tap it a few more times. Looks clean. Let's see how it comes out. All right, so the second time when I cleaned out my brush, there is no green showing, so that tells me my brush is clean. You also want to make sure that your brush is dry. If you get too much water in your paint, it can be drippy. Here, you can see there was a little bit of green left, so that's why I did it a second time. And now I'm ready to start with my next color. I just painted my green space right here. The green paint is still a little bit wet. It would not be a good idea to go ahead and paint my red right here while the paint is wet. Instead, you're going to want to go paint a different space while you let this paint dry. You don't necessarily want to paint wet next to wet in this instance. So I can go over here and paint these shapes. I could paint my stripes here and then work my way back. And if I need to take a little break and let this dry, that's okay too.